Hey YouTube, what's up? Oi to the bang, was ist los? Bonjour mes amis, konnichiwa, ni hao ma, kedu, bawani, and hello to the rest of the people out there in YouTube land. All right, I've been working on this one. Was having the discussion with somebody and been talking about this a lot. And for all the other brothers that keep the commandments and stuff. And let's stop calling it the law. It's the commandments. White men called it the law. And the reason why they call it the law, so that we would make the mistake of conflating the Almighty's commandments, which are natural laws, natural universal laws, with the corrupt white laws of the conquerors, so to speak. All right. And so basically, the title of this one is the evil, not the evil, but evil and brainwashing is why it's so hard for Christians to keep the commandment, which are really easy to keep. All right. So understand this. Evil and brainwashing is why it's so hard for Christians to keep the commandments. And the commandments are really easy to keep. As a matter of fact, the commandments are hard to break. They're really hard to break, right? So let's start right here. You got a whole bunch of women cropping up under the feminist movement that wants to lead men. All right, it's one thing to be out there in the political arena thinking you can lead a men, in the military arena thinking you can lead men. All right, and they only think this because we don't fight with swords and knives anymore. That mess would go downhill in a hurry if we went back to fighting the regular way. But since everything is push button, okay, I can see why women starting to feel themselves. They like, I can push the red button like the man could push the red button. All right, but understand this. All right, you got women trying to lead brothers spiritually in in church or spiritual places at home as the wife. Now the wife wants to be the head over the husband. All right, so let's take you back to Genesis 3 and 16. He said to the woman, all right, to the woman, he said, this is Yahweh. I I greatly increase your sorrow and your conception and bring forth children in pain. And your desire is for your husband, and he does, not shall, he does rule over you. And to the man, he said, because you listened in the King James, it says hearken, meaning that they got into an argument and he gave in and have eaten of the truth which I have commanded, do not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you, and in toil are you to eat all the days of your life. And the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face are you to eat bread until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and dust you return. All right, basically. So that outlines probably the third or fourth commandment. The first one is be fruitful and multiply. Um, for the first one in the garden is don't eat that. Don't eat of that tree. Don't eat of the fruit of the tree of good knowledge, or excuse me, good and evil. The knowledge of good and evil. Hold on. Let's start over. Don't eat of the tree of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. They already had knowledge of good and evil, right? They knew what good was, they knew what evil was. All right, but the Almighty didn't want them to be manipulating good and manipulating evil. All right, and that's what that tree taught them to do. Which the tree and the fruit, we're guessing it was. I have to go back into Enoch. All right, but it was one of the fallen ones who taught women the ability first to manipulate good and evil. All right. Now, this is in Leviticus 20:7. And you shall set yourselves apart, talking about us, Israel, and shall be set apart, for I am Yahweh, your Elohim. And you shall guard my laws and do them. I am Yahweh who sets you apart. What sets us apart is our commandments. And I'll get into that a little later. But there is an assault. There has always been an assault on us, the chosen, to keep us from obeying the commandments. Why? We were so strong when we were in the commandments. All right. And if the church, the government, and everybody can keep us from the commandment, our homes, our houses, our relationships are weaker. The women are weak and the males are weak. All right. And so this is an assault on us. So long as they keep us weak, we don't fight against injustice. We don't fight against wrong. The front lines is the Christian church. All right. The front lines is the Christian church.
This whole congregation.
Here's the
that whatever hard place you might find yourself in, I release the liberating power of the Almighty God.
Here's the thing. Why is it
we've been called to love?
That when these pastors and these church
and I
people
challenge
say
every saint,
they love, it don't mean for them to do right by others or treat other people
we
right.
have no right and no justification to kill one another on social media, especially when you don't know. And if we're really going to be a saint, if we're really going to move in the things God has,
He don't want people to judge him for the evil that he did to them boys.
Let's show the world that we are different and we are a people of God. So, Father God, we honor you, we bless you, and we thank you for
understand this.
Loving us.
The people of God keeps the Almighty's commandments. All right? Period. The people of the Almighty keeps his word. That's how you could distinguish them from everyone else. The Almighty gave us commandments, not a religion. Right? So it says in Exodus 20:1, and Elohim spoke these words saying. Now, we're going to pick out a couple of commandments here. All right? And I'm going to show you something. All right? Thou shalt have no other mighty ones against my face. Exodus 20:3. You do not make yourself a carved image of any likeness which is in the heavens above, which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them nor serve them. For I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. If you don't keep his commandments, you hate him. If you bow down and worship idols and other images, you hate him. Now, this is where we're getting into this. In order not to follow the Almighty's principle, to follow the Almighty's principles of this particular commandment, all you have to do is save your money. What do I mean by this? You don't have to spend your money to go out to buy wood, stone, or whatever, pay somebody to carve it, all right, so that you can have somebody something that represents the Almighty, is because that's not how you represent him. You don't represent him with crosses or some stones or wooden crosses or some white man hung on a wooden cross. You represent him by keeping his commands. right? So basically, he's saving a whole bunch of Christians a whole hell of a lot of money because they don't have to go out and buy jack. They don't have to wake up and bow down to nothing. They don't have to decorate their houses with nothing to show that they are quote unquote holy. All they have to do is obey the commandments. All right? That's simple. But to disobey this commandment, you have to save up some money, go out and buy something, cut and chisel something down, or buy something off of somebody who did. Right? Then take it, bring it to your house, nail it to your wall. That's what you have to do to disobey the commandment. But to obey it, what you have to do is nothing. All right? Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. 6 days do you labor and shall do all your work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. You do not do any work, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. That means guest. All right? And so this is the Sabbath, right? Now, let me see. You work at Walmart that works 7 days a week, right? If you're a Seventh-day Adventist or an Israelite, they have to give you Friday night to Saturday night off if you prove you live by the commandments. They can't discriminate against you. But if you go to church on Sunday, everybody knows that Sunday church isn't in the Bible. So they could work you on Sunday. They could do, it's up to them. Because all the employees know, the army know, everybody knows that if you go to church on Sunday, that's not the Sabbath. So they don't have to give you that off. They have to give you off what's in the Bible, though, if you follow the Bible. All right? About the only place you get Sunday off is Chick-fil-A. And that's because the owner believes that Sunday is the Sabbath in error. But that's the only place you get Sunday off. A place that's not open or Chick-fil-A. If you work in a hospital or whatever, oh yeah, your behind is working. Unless you keep the Sabbath. All right, let me finish that. In Exodus 20:11, for in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the seas and all that that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore he blessed the Sabbath and set it apart. So that's how that goes. But y'all, let's get to the setup. And this is the setup. Listen to his voice. I asked a pastor in Fort Worth, I said, why do y'all like T.D. Jakes so much? And he said, man, it's the quality of his voice. Not what he's saying, not what he's preaching, the quality of his voice. Look at how he's hyping these people up. The organ and everything, the drum. Ah, praise him right now. Yeah, go up a little bit. Give God the glory. Anybody could do that. I ain't saying nothing, but you're going to stand up and shout with me right now, because I got the organ. I got it rolling. I got the drummer. Let me throw you in the shout music. See how easy that is?
Sit down a minute. Let me show you something.
He is preying on the emotions of those people, and the music is getting them riled up. All right, he's doing his little pimp walk. This is showmanship at its best.
Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, if you can't see your way clear,
touch your neighbor and say, neighbor.
You gotta feel your way out.
If you can't see your way clear, you got to feel your way out. That's a sound bite. That's not scripture.
I've got a feeling
this is an act. Now, you know how good this act is? That James Brown made millions off of it. Well, T.D. Jakes is making millions off of it too. Let's talk about my dollar bill man, Creflo Dollar, right? Making millions off of it. All right. So church is based on emotion. And they tell you that you can't keep the commandments. Nobody can keep the commandments. I just showed you an example of two where it's easy to keep but harder to break. All right. So let's keep going with this. All right. Do not murder. So for you Christians that are under grace, and we'll get to that later. For you Christians that are under grace, somebody come in and shoot one of your children and stuff. All you Christians that's running around protesting, you shouldn't be protesting because you're under grace. Just pray that the Lord will save the person that murdered your child. Do not commit adultery. For you men that see some man up there screwing your wife in front of your face in your bed, in your house, don't kill him. Don't kill your wife. Just pray for them because you're under grace. And remember, you can't keep the commandments. Nobody can keep the commandments. All right? Or basically, you're a Christian. Go ahead and kill everybody. Right? Because you can pray for forgiveness because you're under grace. So long as you pray about it, it's okay, huh? Do not steal. All right? Understand to steal. To not steal, just do nothing. Stay your behind at home. Watch TV. To steal, you have to plan. All these three I made, you have to plan, devise a plan, work at it, practice it, then go out and do it. The three I just mentioned, for you to break them, it takes work to break. For you to keep them, it takes you no work at all. How about stay at home, screw your own wife? Don't go out and let somebody get you angry enough to murder them. How about work for what you want? Or how about not lust after something that you probably shouldn't have anyway? It's easy to not steal. Like I said, the Almighty's commandments are easy to keep. They're hard to break. You do not bear false witness against your neighbor. All right? This is different from lying. Bearing false witness is, what's an example of the bearing false witness? Yeah, he the baby daddy. I know he the baby daddy. He the only one I slept with. And I put him up for child support. Yes, I made him sign the birth certificate because I knew that he was the baby daddy. So, ma'am, how many people did you sleep with in a span of the week that it takes to get pregnant? About 4. And you knew this? Yeah. You had this man sign the birth certificate? Yeah. To the man, well, you signed the birth certificate. She suckered you, so you're on the hook for 18 years. 18 years. I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Y'all saw that story. She bore false witness. She knew the truth, but suckered him into doing something that was against his nature, making him believe something that wasn't true so that she could manipulate him by using the system against him. The dude that signed the birth certificate, and this woman done slept with 4 dudes in the span of the time she slept with him and knew that he was not the father. And probably mentioned it to him, which is why he wanted a DNA test. You do not cover your neighbor's house. That's easy. Just don't want their stuff. Right? A man, read down Leviticus 20 and 10. These are all the sexual sins. 20 and 10, 20 and 11. Yeah, don't lie with your brother-in-law's wife. Don't lie with your father-in-law's wife. Don't lie. This is all the stuff. If a man lies with the wife of his father, he has uncovered the nakedness of his father. The sin that Ham committed is he lied with his mother. Remember, it says he looked upon his father's nakedness. And that's why his father cursed Canaan. So here it is. Leviticus 20 and 11. 20 and 11. A man who lies with the wife of his father has uncovered the nakedness of his father. Now you know the sin that Ham committed. But you know why you didn't know it before? Because nobody ever taught you to go look at all the commandments before you read the stories. This is why there's such a misunderstanding of David. We'll get to that later. But everybody needs to read the commandments to the children often, so that then when you talk about the stories make sense. All right. So Noah got drunk, went to sleep. Ham sinned that his father was drunk, looked upon his father's nakedness, and then told his brothers, and his brothers went and covered the nakedness of his father. What did he do? He slept with his mother. That's why Canaan, the offspring of that incident, was cursed. What should have happened is both of them should have been put to death. But since they believed that they were the last people on earth, that's why that didn't happen. All right. A man who lies with a male as he lies with a woman, both of them have done an abomination. They shall certainly be put to death, and their blood is upon them. That means there is blood be upon them. Blood is upon them means there's no sacrifice for a person that do that. You see what I'm saying? So read these. We don't understand a lot of why people were punished in the scriptures, and a lot of why things went the way they went, because we don't read the commandments. So we don't know. All right? So you had the setup, right? Well, prepare for the okie doke.
I'm going to live by my 10 commandments, because a lot of people think that's all it is, just 10. It's 613 do's and don'ts. But even the 10 commandments, here is what the Bible, here's what how Paul describes the 10 commandments in 2 Corinthians
but not the
chapter
scripture.
3, and let's
Notice
read
how he
verses
says
7
Paul,
through 9.
not the Almighty.
If you're there, say amen.
Here's the okie doke, the biblical gymnastics.
Still using Bibles.
Paul,
Praise the Lord.
or
Hallelujah.
Saul's word, trumps
I can tell
the
when you're
words
turning.
and commandments of the Almighty.
And they're going to probably
Here's the
stop by
choice
the
you're
end of the year.
given.
Amen.
If
Verse
you're a
7,
Christian,
but if the
you either
ministration
believe
of
Paul's
death,
words,
written
or
and
you believe the
engraven in
commandments of the
stones.
Almighty,
What was
who
written and
created
engraven
you.
in stones? And what did he just call those things that was written and engraven in stones?
So notice this
The
gymnastics.
ministry of death. If
Paul
the ministry
said this,
of death,
not the
written and
Almighty.
engraven in stones, if it was glorious, and it was at its time, so that the children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses for the glory of his countenance, which glory was to be, watch this, done away.
See,
How
this
shall
whole
not the ministration of the Spirit be what? Rather glorious.
now,
So now he's comparing
he's reading out of
life under the
Corinthians.
ministration of the 10 Commandments versus life under the ministration of the Spirit. Now you and I are no longer
Y'all
under
know
the
how
law.
much
We are
bull-
under what? Grace. And under the covenant of grace, we will see the ministration of the Spirit. That just simply means that now that you're born again,
Gymnastics.
instead of being led by the law, you're now going to be led by the Spirit.
And so that's the cracker food that just turned into a blacker food, right? So here's the final thoughts, right? You see how we saying you're not led by the law, but by the Spirit? Spirit ain't nothing but the emotions. And that's why black women like the church so much. They are so filled with emotion there. It is just so much emotion in the black church that they think that you don't have to live by nothing, right? So everybody go smack a black woman, smack her teeth out. She can't do nothing because apparently she can hit you and expect nothing in return. Think about that. Because you spiritually feel like you're going to hit somebody and they shouldn't do anything in return because you're a woman. Right? In other words, you want to sin without repercussion. And then have a feeling, oh, Lord, I'm under your grace. Oh, and please, I don't want to make amends to people that I've harmed. I just want to pray to you, white Jesus, on the cross, and I'm going to have you forgive me for it. That old white man, Caesar Borgia, Serapis, Mithras, Apollo that's hanging up on the cross, the Constantines, the Flavians. Now, this is the real deal. All right, understand this. We're suffering for a number of reasons because we forsaken the Almighty's commandments, right? Now, let me read this. 1 Samuel, and the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Shemuel at Ramah and said to him, look, you are old and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now, appoint for us a sovereign, a king, like all the nations. But the word was evil in the eyes of Shemuel. And they said, give us a sovereign, a king, to rule us. And Shemuel prayed to Yahweh. And Yahweh said to Shemuel, listen to the voice of the people in all they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from reigning over them. There is the price for that. There's a price for rejecting the Almighty from reigning over them. And he said, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them out of Mizraim, even to this day, they have forsaken me and serving other mighty ones, so they are doing it to you too. Now listen to their voice, but you shall certainly warn them and shall make it known to them. The ruling sovereign does reign over them. And Shemuel spoke these words to the people who asked him for a sovereign. And said, thus the ruling sovereign that does reign over you, he shall take your sons and these are all the things that people that rule over us do. All right. But I want to move on to another point. All right, all this that he do, take your daughters and give them as servants, take 1/10 of your grain, that's taxes, and your male servants and female servants. However, the people refused to listen to Shemuel and said, no, but let us have a sovereign, that we should also be like the nations, right? And then the Almighty said to them that because they reject them, that he's going to reject them. Period. Whoop, there it is. Now, what's this have to do with us? The first sovereign they picked was Saul. He was okay. Now, the history books don't write him as okay because he didn't do what David did. David unified the kingdoms, right? So they gave David a lot of credit while glossing over how evil David was. Remember, David backstabbed a lot of people. He then got with Bathsheba, had Uriah killed on the front lines. Now, what people don't understand that David started the fall of Israel. So that's 2 kings in, and the fall of Israel started already. 2 kings in. Why? Because in Samuel, it said that this was going to happen. Right? So 2 kings in. So David committed adultery. His adulterous wife sucked him into making Solomon the king when it should have been his eldest, which then created enmity between Solomon and his brothers, right? David always had a son trying to kill him. His daughter was raped. Does that sound like a blessed man? Does that sound like a man running his house right? All right. And the kingdom was starting to be in shambles. Solomon killed the kingdom because after that, Israel was split. Then after that, you see what I'm saying? All right. David caused all that. All the evil that David meted out, he paid for it. And everybody was like, well, David was the apple of God's eye. No, he wasn't. Samuel was the apple of God's eyes. For people that want to say God. The Almighty's apple was Samuel, who was blessed. Everything was cursed for Israel as soon as we got a sovereign. Nothing went right since. And David, really, was the worst. Well, no, Solomon was the worst. They got progressively worse, right? Now, if you don't believe me, all right, go back and read all the stuff that went on in David's house and tell me if that's a blessing. That ain't how the Almighty blesses people. All right. And so because the writers translated that and added in that, David was the apple of God's eyes because he could write a poem. That ain't how God, the Almighty felt about it. The Almighty was punishing that kingdom and that king throughout his entire life. Nothing went right for him in his house. His house was evil and a shambles. You don't believe me? Go back and read. That's why the Almighty didn't model any kings after. We weren't supposed to have kings to begin with. All right? I will beg y'all to go back and read. Go back, read 1 Samuel, the whole 8th chapter. All right? Just read it. And then y'all come back and then let me know something. All right? That's all I ask you to do. Read Samuel, the whole 8th chapter. Read Samuel and then read Kings and look at all the mess that David brought upon the land. And remember, Bathsheba, who shouldn't have been his wife, right? She is the woman that he committed adultery with, and both of them should have been put to death. She killed off the kingdom because it was her suggestion that Solomon should be the next ruler, and that was out of order. And then Solomon caused the split of Israel, and then we became divided and then conquered. And his sons all his sons tried to kill him pretty much. His sons tried to kill him. Y'all think about it. His daughters were raped, and his sons tried to kill him. And the woman making the biggest decisions was the one that he committed adultery with, who should have died and been killed. But they didn't kill her and apply the commandments to her, is because David was king. Had they not had kings, both David and Bathsheba would have been put to death. Or maybe he would not have been bold enough to sin like that against the Almighty. Because he just would have remained a shepherd and not been corrupted by absolute power. That's something to think about. So y'all tell me what you think. I'll put in the rest of Samuel, but y'all tell me what you think. And y'all read it for yourself. All right? I'm out.